Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to Terratech with me, Ep23, and of course, welcome back to our cargo plane build, which is still very much a bit of a skeleton. In today's video, I'm hoping we can complete this build, and then in the next video, we can send it out and test it out in the campaign itself. This is one of the few large builds I've really attempted, and so far, it's been way more challenging than I originally thought it would be. For some reason, I thought this one would be easy, and because of me being confident, the universe wanted me to be punished, and so this has been one of the most difficult builds I've ever done, despite the fact it looks really simple. So, let's just get straight into it. Now, one thing I think I need to change is how wide the main body is. I still think it looks a bit too wide, and also it looks a bit too uniform. Now, it will look different once I've got the walls on and I've got some curvature, because it will look a little bit more natural. But right now, looking at it very 2D, very flat like this, if I can use my words, it looks wrong. It just does not look correct. So what I'm thinking of doing is keeping it about this thin, either 1 or 2 blocks, then widening it in the center for this wing section, and then once again making it more narrow at the front. This way, it just looks like it's got a few more things going on. It looks less flat. And again, it will look less flat when, you know, it's not flat, but even so. So I think that's the first thing I'm going to do. So once again, stripping out all of this. And I do want to make some changes to this system anyway, so that's no major issue. Okay, so now this section's one thinner, and yeah, I much prefer that, and now we can work with this section a bit more to give it a bit more just detail, to make it look a little bit better when it's in the air, because let's face it, this cargo plane is horribly inefficient. There is no reason to build this build. This build is here purely because I want this build to exist, so we may as well have some fun with it, otherwise, what's the point of it even existing? Okay, the front section can just be completely undone. The more I look at the front section, the more I dislike it. Now, of course, that was nowhere near finished, but even so. I'm thinking not having the front quite as far forwards either. Now, every time I say that and actually look at this, I don't agree with myself after I've said it, because it will look a bit front-heavy still. So this still needs to come in, so this is now way too wide. It's now too wider than it should be, based on the back section, so let's redo that. So how far forward do we want this? And yeah, that looks much better. Like, significantly better, at least to me. I'm sure some people will disagree, but I definitely think that looks better. Now, one thing a lot of people mention, and thank you for this, because I completely forgot about this, is that wings in this game act as a stabilizing force. Now, I'm just saying in this game, because you never quite know how physics work based on real world versus the game, so I'm just saying it like that anyway. Now, the wings act as a very strong stabilizing force when it comes to pitch in this game, because they sort of self-regulate. They always try to keep your pitch, no matter what it is, and that's why, despite the fact this is clearly not balanced, whilst we're in the air, it just flies straight. It doesn't try to pitch up or pitch down, and because we've got so many wings, it means we can be a little bit more silly when it comes to the proportions of the vehicle itself, which is really helpful. And yep, that is so much better. Okay, so let's continue with that in mind. What I think I need to do is finish off these 2 turbines first. Then I want to figure out how I'm going to do the back of these wings. I still hate how the end of these wings look, so I'm going to be changing that very soon. And then we can work on the back section of this body and how the internal mechanisms are actually going to function. Okay, I'm feeling more hopeful today, I will say that much. Yesterday, less so. Today, far more. One other major thing I really do need to consider is the max speed of this craft. We shouldn't go over somewhere between 70 and 80. The reason is, at that point, apparently silos will start losing resources. Because silos are worse at holding resources, the higher up that resource is. Thank you to those who told me that as well. In my tests in the previous video, we went over 100 with no issues, but we were using a silo which was essentially empty except for a few resources. We need to be careful about that. The other problem is, if we pitch quickly, that affects how fast the resources are going without naturally affecting our max speed. Well, not necessarily anyway, it probably will, but not always, so we need to be really careful about that as well. Did I mention this craft shouldn't exist? Now, do I even want to go with stripes with these? Yeah, I think I want these to have stripes, then the body of this is going to be completely red, which will make a nice contrast. I like how that's turned out as well. Yeah, that looks alright. Kind of looks like the back of a, what's it called? One of those weird sideways tents. Anyway, I am being distracted. Let's continue with this. Can I place one thing correctly first time? That would be great. I've just googled plane turbines, and this is more wrong than I even thought it was. I knew it was wrong, but as soon as I saw one actually existing, well, it's pretty darn terrible. But I really like how it looks, but it's just so wrong. But I like how it looks, but it's wrong. And so the two halves of my brain have been fighting for a while. There have been sticks involved, stones have been thrown, but I think eventually they will relax and just have a beer. I think I'm a special level of incompetence. When did I start using anchors as blocks? How many anchors are on this thing? Where are they? We'll never know. We just know that at some point, I started building with anchors. I don't know why that's funny, but it is. It'd be more funny if it wasn't so sad. Oh, great, I can't even throw them away. He's like, no, anchors! Anchors everywhere! That's looking so much better. I am really happy with that. Okay, but now we need to do the internal mechanisms, you know, the whole point of this craft's existence. So, how are we going to do that? Well, I think we're going to keep it very much the same, but instead of using the filter blocks, we're going to use... Where are you? Is it these guys? The alternator conveyor? I can't remember. Either way, we're not going to use the filters because the filters always have the UI on, which can cause lag and looks ugly when you try and take screenshots of the thing. Which, let's face it, I do need to make thumbnails at some point, so that would be nice as well, you know, YouTuber transparency and all that. Now, we still want about as many as before, though, so let's start off here. We have just about enough space to do this. Let's give it a break just next to it, and then let's find out if those alternator conveyors and stuff actually work. We just need something to push them forwards, which aren't filters, essentially, because otherwise it won't be naturally moving along all the silos, especially since we no longer can put conveyors down the side. I will still also be avoiding stacking the silos, because this, to me, tends to increase the odds of things falling off them. I don't know if that's actually the case, but I have had so many issues with the resource chunks when you stack them. You can stack them. I just seem to run into every problem which can happen for some reason. There we are, and yep, it does work. Excellent. And I'm assuming it's okay that they are alternators because, well, they can only go one way anyway. Yep, perfect. Lovely, fantastic, wonderful, and doodles. So, I've had to stop because it's just occurred to me I still haven't made quite an important decision. Are we going to have a roof on this thing or not? If we have a roof, it means the resources can get a little bit stuck, but it would mean the plane would look far better. The problem is these things hold resources very, very high into the air, so adding a proper ceiling here will just not function that correctly, but I would love a ceiling. I would love an actual roof to this thing. I think it would look really, really good. So one thing we could do is perhaps only have a roof. Come on. Go to the section I want. There we go. Only have a roof over these pieces. So the pieces in which we don't have the silos just sitting there. That way, once these are full, they will sort of fill up and then act as their own roof. Because they will completely saturate this section. And I think that would be okay. I don't know. I would love it to have a full roof, though. It would look so much better. But the resources being exposed would look cool as well. I really don't know. I am so torn on this choice. Well, I've filled in the back section, so now all we need to do is add some curvature to the bottom of the craft and figure out where the wheels are going to go. Then we can do the front, and then we can decide if we're actually going to have this thing closed up or not. I think if we leave it open, I may even have to remove some of these wings here, just so the look is carried on throughout the whole craft, which will be a bit annoying, but right now it's going to get really weird once it hits here if it's not completely closed off. Well, here's an easy way to make our decision. Let's just completely fill this thing full of resources and see how it looks. Also, see how it reacts to this section. Well, there's something. Because there is a gap, it's able to do the... Oh my god, that does not look good. No, oh, that looks glitchy as anything. Okay, maybe open. Yep, maybe have it open all the way along. I think that's just decided it for me. I forgot this thing holds so much resource. Now, of course, it needs to hold this much resource because we have a whole base full of this stuff to move. At any given time, we have more silos than this thing is currently using completely filled at our base. It needs to be able to hold them. That's one of the reasons why I'm not using any of these sideways to make these compact, because, well, the resources are interesting to say the least, especially now they have physics. Oh boy. Yeah, we need to break this open and make sure this section is like this section. On the upside, these are okay, kind of. Yep, that resource is trying to get into that one. Yep, that is really, really bad. Could I just grab the resource? Thank you. There you go. Now it's fixed. It's only half filled. Maybe I should use the smaller version. The smaller version does not hold them quite as highly, I think. Let's have a quick look-see. So let's grab one of these, pop it there. There we go. Then let's use one of the 4 silos. How high does this hold the things? Now, this will be less space efficient, but... Nope, same height. Yep, we might just need to use something other than silos then, because that is a little bit insane. Now, of course, I could put these a bit lower in the plane. That won't be too difficult once I start adding the bottoms to the craft, but still. Oh, yeah, to not even think about this being a problem. On the floor. Now, currently at a steady 63 miles an hour. Okay, let's see. $68, still no issues. Turning slightly. Turning a bit more. Okay, let's try to actively drop some of these then. Also, we need more speed. Yep, we need to actually fill these in completely now. Down we go, and 81, 82, still no issue. Jiggle, jiggle. Kinda looks like jelly. No, seems fine. Okay, good. Okay, so if we keep about this speed then, we should be okay. Also, I need to swap out some of these tail fins, since I have all right. I need to use some of them as left, some of them as right. Anyway, little things we need to change later. Let's reload the save, because I don't want these resources on anymore. Slowly, slowly getting there. Okay, so that is the filter, which will allow the things to be dropped off. Either I will use a dropper, or I will use, where are you, the thimble. There we are, the thimble collector, because this will be able to be used as a transfer mechanism from holding resources and then giving it to one of these, which of course is a receiver. Okay, yeah, because collectors will give to receivers. Now the front section, I have redone this maybe 30 times, and I wish I was joking. I just cannot get that thing to look correct. I really need more practice at building builds like this, because I just can't get it right. Either way, though, it's functional for now, so let's just continue with this. Now, we definitely need to make it so that the resources don't get stuck here, so I am going to need to do a bit of work with these wings. That's being held on there, correct? Yep, and down there, okay, which means I can go ahead and just start throwing all this stuff on the floor, then redoing it. Which would be true if the cab wasn't sitting there. Now I can do that. I will be amazed if this thing can actually take off right now. Oh, so close, but no. I've removed the hovers on the front and a few other small changes, and yeah, this thing is not going to get off the ground at this speed. Far too heavy. And the lift is now further back in terms of centre of mass, so it isn't quite forcing it into the air. Okay. Maybe a couple of hidden hovers at the front, that will probably give it enough. The problem with hovers is that when this thing gets close to the ground, because of the size of the craft, it goes from air mode to ground mode way higher than you'd expect, maybe about here. And if you have hovers on the front, there's no way of controlling the pitch anymore, because the wings no longer respond to forwards and backwards, only the turbines do, which means you suddenly have no way to pitch, and the natural pitch is up, so this back section basically slams against the ground, which ends up causing damage. So you need minimal hover, if anything. Still though, look at this thing, it's actually looking okay. Hate the front, but still. Starting to fix a few of the asymmetries with the build. There we are, that's that section done. And I'm going to add some of these to the bottom. The zero propellers, because these get away with adding a little bit of lift to the entire craft, because they're underneath the center of mass. And that should still, though, be countered by the wing's natural stabilization. Good, I am placing this the correct way around. For a second there, I thought I was putting these backwards, which would cause all sorts of problems once we get into the air. Okay, let's just line these up with the others, and then let's see if this helps. And there we go, with the bottom propellers, we do indeed get airborne. Until I accidentally turn everything off then for a second, whoops-a-daisy. There we are. Still going massively to the left, though I think that's the problem with using all of these, but still. Okay. Let's get ourselves landed. Still lands okay without any major pitch issues because we're only using a couple of hovers. Fantastic. Now, I really need to get going, and I need to start sorting out the asymmetry with the white. I've seen a few problems already. I've seen even more problems now. I'm looking at it right now, so don't worry, I will fix all of those. It's just going to take a while, that's all. Just a few minutes in, and already looking a lot more balanced. Still slightly tipping towards the left, but with nowhere near as much severity. Also testing out some new types of wheels. Really don't like these back sections to this. Let's leave it as that, and let's have a quick landing. This thing glides so well. How about these wheels? Don't think the angle is quite steep enough, which is definitely a problem. On the upside, turning is good. Like, on the ground. How about if the wheels are put a little bit further forwards? And we have liftoff. Landing's okay, but that's going to be a bit more of a problem than before. I still think perhaps just the smaller wheels at the back, keep the larger wheels at the front. Okay. Now, if I'm correct, we should no longer be tipping towards the left whenever we are airborne. Okay, still in ground mode, still in ground mode. Now we've hit air mode, and... Yep, we are no longer tipping. Fantastic. We are nice and flat. Wonderful. Okay then, let's land this thing. Now, we could be potentially slowly turning towards the right, but not tipping, because I have added some extra weight currently to the right while I was messing around with some things. No, doesn't seem to be causing an issue. Okay, so the reason why we were slowly tipping towards the left was a combination of things. First of all, there were too many blocks on the left over here than right, so the weight distribution was off. Secondly, these wings here were sadly the wrong way around, as in the one which was meant to be right was left, the one which was left was right, which caused a gentle tip. And landing, and yeah, that seems fine. Maybe a little bit too much weight on the right. Okay, let's continue then. We are getting very, very close to this thing being technically done, and at that point I'll be technically done with the video and technically happy with the craft. Technically. What next? Happy with the wheels currently, landing's good. Still don't like the end of these wings, but they are certainly functional, I'm okay with them. Kind of want to redo some of this front section, but it's okay for now. Yeah, what next? What next? Only real issue left is now we have a very slight pitch down. This can be solved by either lowering the lift on the back, changing it so the front has some lift itself, or lowering the weight on the front. It's still not really a huge issue though, it's certainly not going to really affect flying, and in some ways it helps landing because the front wheels are so much lower. Oh, actually, yeah, the fact that helps landing so much, I am very tempted to leave it. Crud, now I have a choice. I hate choices. Okay, so I've decided is I am going to keep the pitch very slightly. So as you can see, it very, very slowly noses down now, but that is incredibly slow. This just means when I go to land, life is going to be so much easier. And this thing now lands incredibly easily. I think that is completely worth the sacrifice, because I'm only going to have to change the pitch maybe a couple of times per long flight. It's really that mild. And at this point it would be really easy to fix, but I've decided that's how we're going to keep it. Now, where am I going to put this cab? Oh yeah, why do I need this cab? The entire front section is now made of cabs. We're fine. We do, however, need a radar. Let's just add the regular small radars to the back because we can. Ta-da. Okay. Still need a few sections cleaned up, but I think, technically speaking, the craft is now done. In terms of sheer functionality, the takeoff is easy, it controls easily, although a bit sluggish because, well, look how heavy the darn thing is. It'll get to where we need to go, and then we can just land it. And because we have these gaps, we are minimizing the amount of problems the resource chunks are going to give us, although they are going to stick out of the craft quite a lot. I am really, really happy with how this has turned out. Considering this is my weakness building things like this, I am really happy. I'm still a bit concerned about the end of the wings. I'm still not 100% happy with that. I'm still not 100% happy with the front, but everything else I am. I've decided as well I will leave the bottom flat because I think adding the curvature there is just going to cause a lot of problems for almost no extra looks. We are never going to be able to see that. So with that, I'm afraid I am all out of time for today's video. If you have enjoyed, then of course, likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that Terratech is a series you wish to see continued in the future. In the next episode, after a lot of little mini tweaks, we will be trying to spawn this in the campaign. And I need to ask you a question here, because I don't know where to go. Do I finally give in and use this, the payload terminal, which I think is an accessories? There it is. This means we can simply convert our money into items. Now, it's less efficient than building in terms of per money, but it's almost instant, and we are incredibly rich. Or do I handcraft everything using our harvesters? The problem is, we have a lot, and I mean a lot of blocks here, which I don't have in my inventory. It's going to take a long time to build. But the whole point of this series so far has been to not use the payload terminal, but we have reached the end. We are maximum reputation with everything, we are completely rich, we have crafted everything up to this point. So do I turn my back on that for this final build, or do I craft it from hand and go a little bit mad? Just to say I've been able to do that. Give me your feedback, because I really don't know. And with that, thank you again so much for watching. This is actually really fun to fly. Yeah, I can see a few asymmetries, so don't worry. All of those things will be fixed. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a lovely day.